everyone. Today I want to talk to you about how you can really easily and safely use GLP peptides to lose weight and other peptides to help you have a much better experience than kind of the reputation of what's going on out there with peptides currently. So the category of weight loss peptides right now would include Ozempic, Mounjaro, tirzepatide. And just to be clear, those are actually prescription medications that you either receive from a doctor or typically a weight loss clinic. And before I get into the better and correct way to take these, it's important that I stop and talk about why this is being done incorrectly in the current landscape of the whole weight loss space. And that is that these drugs are being grossly overused and overdosed, basically. When the body loses 20 pounds a month, that is not healthy. When you are taking these GLP medications at such a high dose that you're losing weight so quickly that your skin is sagging, you're not able to have bowel movements normally, you're putting yourself at risk for a lot of other side effects, medical side effects, including, they've found different cancers in lab rats and things like that with these medications. Basically, that's a clue that we're not doing it right, okay? However, the nature of these peptides on their own, they are actually really safe and healthy to use if you know how to do it the right way. So just to kind of put a bow on that, taking such a large dose that you're starving, you're malnourished, your skin is sagging, your gut is not eliminating properly, you've gone too far. This is not the right way to do it. And to add insult to injury, what do you think is going to happen when you try to pull off of that peptide, when you've been on such a high dose? So the problem is not the peptide. The problem is how it is being dosed. Because the reality is, these little peptides are actually very safe and effective for weight loss. This is just a GLP-1 peptide from Rejuvitide. And I'm gonna talk about how you can safely use and dose this peptide. So unlike a prescription, this is a research peptide, okay? That means it's gonna be less expensive and it's gonna last you longer, and you can control how it's reconstituted. And what I mean by reconstituted is this little peptide is just going to come with as a powder, okay? So you will reconstitute it. It's called reconstituting when you're mixing it with a solution of bacteriostatic water. And I do a pretty concentrated reconstitution on this. So I do a 1 milliliter reconstitution. So I get a 3 milliliter syringe off of Amazon, and I do a 1 milliliter reconstitution. Now you might be wondering, why am I taking a GLP-1 peptide? And the purpose of GLP-1 peptides is not only weight loss, but really what they are working on is the underlying condition of insulin resistance, which I have because I have PCOS. So I take a very small microdose of a GLP to help with my insulin resistance. Now, as a nice side effect, I lost about 8 pounds, which at age 41, most women probably like the idea of shedding a few extra pounds. So I was fine with that. But I didn't even lose any weight initially for the first month. I was taking such a small dose that my body was just kind of working on the underlying cause of insulin resistance. And then the second month I lost a couple pounds, and on it goes. So I take a very small microdose of 10 units. So after you do a 1 ml reconstitution on your insulin syringe, you just want to do 10 units. I'm gonna pause and show you guys the syringe sizes. I think that would be helpful. Okay, bacteriostatic water, 3 ml syringe, okay, with a needle. And then I prefer, this is a 100 unit, 31 gauge, 10 millimeter syringe, insulin syringe. So the markings on this syringe are units. I dose everybody in units because the whole milligrams, it's too confusing trying to figure it out from reconstitution into the syringe. Okay, where was I? So I take 10 units once a week on the same day. And again, I wasn't looking for anything dramatic. I was really looking for this to slowly work on my underlying condition of insulin resistance. Now, if you do want to use this for weight loss, right? If you really are going hard for weight loss, still start at 10 for a week. Then maybe the next week you can go to 15, just kind of see how you feel. And what you're looking for isn't necessarily on the scale right away, but you're looking for what I call the food chatter to kind of minimize in your head, right? So people with, I kind of call it food addiction. I call the food chatter food addiction. And I honestly, I have it too. I'm a woman. I like crave sugar, and sometimes I'll say to myself, bargaining, right? Like, okay, well, if I have this cookie, then tomorrow I have to have this and this and this. That's what I kind of call like the food addiction, food chatter. It's not a negative term. It's just a reality. It's when we kind of obsess about food a little bit in our mind. And we're looking for the point, that teetering point, where that chatter starts to really minimalize and go away. And at that point, you can really make a lot healthier decisions about your meals, how often you're eating and what you're eating. And you want to make sure that those meals have a lot of protein and a lot of nutrition. So lots of green juices, lots of smoothies. You want to make sure you're getting lots of fruits and vegetables and whole foods. You don't want to eat like crap, but just be eating less on this stuff. You really want to focus on putting good stuff in your body. So if you wanted to start at 10, then you move up to 15. Let's say you're still not feeling anything. You can go up to 20. I would say you don't really want to exceed 25. But wherever that food chatter starts to minimize for you, and just stay there for a little bit, okay? And see how your body starts to respond. Again, your gut should still be eliminating normally, right? We don't want to go so far that you are stopping the motility in your gut. You shouldn't really have any other side effects going on except that the food chatter is less, you're a little less hungry, and your bowels should not be affected, okay? So you just kind of want to find that sweet spot. Now, it's very, very important with these peptides that you have a rest period. This is another issue with these weight loss clinics. There's no rest period. So over time, it's not working as well, and they have to keep titrating up and up and up and up forever, and you're literally stuck on it forever. With these peptides, it's really important that you do 12 weeks on, 4 weeks off, 12 weeks on, 4 weeks off. And every time you come back on, you can come back on at the same dose that you left. You don't have to start back down at 10 again. And the reason we do that is because at the end of the day, really these peptides are just amino acids. And although they are arranged in a certain sequence and put into the body, that the body recognizes that sequence, eventually, if you don't give it a break, the body is just going to start reading the injections as amino acids. And that's a problem, especially when we're trying to keep the results of these peptides. So very important, 12 weeks on, 4 weeks off. Okay, so what do you do in those 4 weeks off? Because depending on your situation, the hunger might come back, you might start eating a lot again, you might lose some of your results. So there are some other really great peptides that you can do during that time. One of them is MOTS-C, and that one, especially if you are working out, you can take before doing fasting cardio, and that's gonna help you burn fat. There's another really great peptide called AOD, that's just a fat reducing peptide. So you can kind of bring in those other peptides that do not work on the insulin pathways. They're a completely different peptide. They are not a GLP peptide. So you can use those as an alternative on your 4 weeks off. Also, if you do your last week of your GLP, okay, so if you take your last week of your GLP, so you're on your 12th week and you do a 4-day fast. So let's say you started on a Sunday night, like you eat dinner on Sunday night, and that's when your fast begins, and you can go until Thursday. You will have gotten in such a great fast that cleans up so much junk out of your body and completely resets your metabolism that you might be fine to do your 4 weeks without any extra peptides at all. And the way to get through that fast is because you will be reducing your hunger with that last dose of your GLP peptide. So that's a really great thing that I did. And I really felt like I didn't have any hunger or anything come. I actually lost a couple more pounds even after when I was off my GLP. And now I'm kind of to the point where I just use it every other week as just kind of maintenance for my insulin resistance. But again, if you're going after the heavier weight loss piece, you are going to be at a little bigger dose and hunger might come back. It just kind of depends. You have to play with it a little bit. But the point I really want to drive home is you have to take a break. Another really great peptide that is so important to use. In fact, I don't recommend anybody under any circumstance do a GLP-1 peptide without also doing a CJC epimorelin blend. This is in the category of human growth hormone secretagogues, meaning it does not put human growth hormone in your body, but rather it encourages native production of our own human growth hormone. As we age, we make less and less. And if you think about human growth hormone and its benefits, think about when you're a kid and you have the most abundant amount of human growth hormone in your body, you're sleeping great, you have great recovery, less injuries, you're youthful, you can build muscle very quickly. So those are all the great benefits that we lose over time when we don't make as much HGH anymore. So when you bring in that CJC epimorelin, it's just encouraging your own native secretion of human growth hormone, meaning when you are losing weight on the GLP-1s, we're really, really protecting that lean muscle mass when you bring in that CJC epimorelin. I do a 2 ml constitution on the CJC, and then I do, depending on your workout schedule, you do want to take this 5 days a week. And here's how I do this. If it's a day that I work out, so if you're lifting weights, you want to work out fasted, okay? So you don't eat before your workout, you lift your weights, then you take your shot. I do about anywhere between 10 and 15 units. Let's just say 15 to keep it easy. 15 units right after your workout. You will then wait 90 minutes. So fast an additional 90 minutes before you eat. Okay, that is going to be the best scenario for building muscle. If you want to go more for burning fat, and sometimes I'll just do a cardio day, like I don't lift all the time at the gym. If you want to go just for burning fat, you would want to take that CJC epimorelin shot before your fasted cardio, and then make sure that there's just 90 minutes between that initial shot and when you eat, okay? If you do not work out, you'll just want to take that shot in the evening. And again, you're looking for a 5-day on, 2-day off schedule. So it doesn't have to be 5 days straight, but just out of 7 days, you want to take it 5 out of the 7 days. So if you don't work out, just take it before bed. And that peptide, you could kind of cycle on for like 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off. You definitely want to make sure you're on that peptide while you are off your GLP-1, okay? So you want to be, you want to make sure you're secreting human growth hormone while you're off your GLP. That's an important thing. And just so you know, with that peptide, it is normal to kind of have a flushing feeling, like a niacin flush at about 30 minutes after you inject. That is totally normal. It's not hurting you. You're not hurting yourself. If you happen to have a very bad reaction to the peptide, like a really bad flush, your heart's really racing fast, you might even get like a histamine response, like sneezy and red eyes and runny nose. That just means you probably have a lot of histamine active in your body. You might have allergies. It doesn't mean that you're allergic to the peptide. It's just activating a lot of histamine in your body. And if that is you, then you can take a different peptide. You can take just an epimorelin. You could try a samorelin. You can do other things. There are lots of human growth hormone secretagogues that you can take. That's just the one that I like. I like that one on Rejuvatide. Those are the two that I take. It's the GLP-1 and the CJC epimorelin blend from Rejuvatide. But again, you can do whatever peptide brand you want, whatever floats your boat as far as the growth hormone secretagogues. That's just what I happen to do and what I recommend. So I think I covered everything that I wanted to. I do peptide consultations if anyone needs help with any of this stuff. But really, There's such great abundant information, really easy to find information available on the internet about peptides. However, if people still need hand holding, I'm definitely there to do that for you. And hopefully you guys found this helpful. Thank you so much for listening, and good luck on your peptide journey.